Greetings, my name is Chamomile, and this is an exploration of the entire galaxy sector by sector. Today, we're looking at Belsmuth Sector and 10th Crimson Dire Command of the Trans-Hydean region of the Outer Rim. Belsmuth Sector's de facto capital, not sure about de jure, is Bodajef, the planet that produces the AA-9 Coruscant-class freighter. They produce a lot of civilian ships, but this is by far the most important one, because this is the primary ship that delivers supplies down the major shafts of Coruscant. AA-9s fly down the levels to unload cargo containers at train stations miles below the surface, and the train network takes it from there to the underlevels. The AA-9 is small enough to fit into the shaft's width, while also being big enough to carry a lot of people and/or stuff. When configured for passengers, the AA-9 can hold 30,000 people, and when configured for cargo, it can carry enough food to feed over 10,000 for a week. Coruscant's population being what it is, that means over 1 million of these freighters fly from the Ag Circuit to Coruscant every day just for food, with even more to handle machine parts, appliances, cookware, furniture, and everything else people down there might want to buy from any planet other than Coruscant. And on top of that, there's the AA-9s used to ferry people to and from Coruscant. The AA-9 is one of the only starships that's designed for atmospheric flight on a specific planet. Its specifications designed around the width of those shafts providing access to the underlevels, and despite what would ordinarily be a niche role, the sheer number of deliveries to Coruscant means that the AA-9 is one of the most common starships in the galaxy, despite the fact that you almost never see them outside the Arrowhead. You can tell Bodajef is kind of boring because instead of talking about the actual planet, I instead talked about how they made a ship for another, more interesting planet, and that's mostly how Belsmuth Sector goes. Alba 16 was ruled by the Sith Empire, or one of its rump states, continuously for almost the entirety of the Old Republic era, and that sounds interesting, and Alba 16 is notable for being that way despite being relatively far from Korriban, but the Republic didn't actually destroy the Sith Empire as many times as they claimed to. They'd kill the Sith Emperor, destroy the Sith fleet, and then fly down to whatever the capital planet of that particular Sith Empire had been for some photo ops with Republic flags, but they didn't want to pay for a military occupation of the entire Trans-Hydean, so then they'd go back to the core, wind down their military, and leave all the surviving Sith Lords to fight over who got to be the new Sith Emperor. That fight could last for centuries before the Sith became the Republic's problem again, but in the meantime, planets like Alba 16 would be under Sith rule almost continuously. See, it's happening again. I start talking about Alba 16, except oops, actually I'm talking about Korriban and Coruscant. Alba 16 itself was home to a penal colony used by the Findians, which was shut down by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, but the Findians are from Demetrius Sector, so that's a story for another time. Harlowen is the swoop racing capital of the Outer Rim, which would be cool if swoop racing weren't pod racing's lame cousin that nobody likes, and Mafa'as Prime is full of casinos, racetracks, and arenas, and a casino planet sounds insane until you realize that it's one medium-sized city built around gambling tourism, surrounded by an otherwise empty planet. Irmenu is kind of interesting unto itself. It's one of those planets like Kenari that got colonized but then fell through the cracks of the galaxy and was forgotten about. Since it was part of explored space, no one was coming through to check planet by planet for habitable worlds or useful resources, so no one really noticed that Irmenu had devolved into a mostly Iron Age society ruled by a theocracy called the Imperious Priesthood. Records don't say for sure, but this sure sounds like a place that fell off the map due to disastrous policies implemented in the Pius Dea era, and went from theocratic hybrid regime to full-on theocratic dictatorship without anyone noticing or cleaning them up after the 6th Alsacan conflict. The place is covered in ocean, but they have to use sails and oars to get around because they have one starport, the Imperious Priesthood runs it, and they're real picky about what technology is and isn't allowed on the planet. Blasters and comlinks are allowed, but speeders and skiffs aren't. No idea why, and given it's the decree of a stagnant priesthood, it's probably a stupid compromise arrived at after months or years of exhausting arguments, adhered to centuries or millennia later because it became the way things are done here, and you're not allowed to question traditions no matter how stupid. In addition to some tech coming down, people also leave the planet sometimes. Princess Natasa Dalla's family was killed in a power struggle, but the victors sent the infant princess to an orphanage on Bodajef rather than kill a baby, for example.